guys, it's Yui. Welcome back to my channel. こんにちは、ゆいです。本日もご視聴ありがとうございます。今日は、ジャクソンと一緒に、私たちの出会いとか、サンディエゴでの生活、なんで日本に引っ越してきたかとか話していきたいと思います。見てねー。Let's get to it! First, we're gonna talk about how we met. We talked a little bit about it in our last Q&A video, so just a short version of it. But do you wanna tell them how we met?
We met in San Diego. We were both new to the city and just looking for new friends and found each other that way.
So if you want to know the details about the story, check out this Q&A video that I link right here. I was in school and you were working, and Jackson was working in north side of the San Diego, and I was in school in the south side of San Diego, so we were pretty far from each other. When I first started going to school, I just moved to the United States and I didn't even have a driver's license. But we were so far away that if I took a bus to Jackson's place, it would take like 1 hour or 2 hours. Sometimes it was hard to see each other if I didn't have a car. So I went to get a driver's license and I saved up my allowance money that my parents sent me like every month. So I was like kind of starving myself to save money, and I got a car for like I think like $1,500, almost broken car. But it worked, so I got a license, I got a car, and I went to see Jackson like every weekend or something after that.
Yeah, I definitely remember that too. I would drive down to see her, but she lived with some roommates at the time. We didn't have like the best space for us to just hang out there, so it was better to hang out at my place, but that meant I had to drive down, pick her up, take her down, and then take her back, and then drive back. It was a lot of driving. Yui always is a problem solver. If there's a problem, there is a solution, and she will just drive at it until it happens. And then she bought this car, and she kind of did all this without really telling me. Like, I knew she was taking driver's license courses, but then she bought that car, and oh, that car was scary. That experience when Yui bought this terrible car so that we could see each other more, it really was one of the things that really made me realize like how serious she was about this relationship. For the first time in my life, probably, it didn't scare me away. It more made me wanted to commit more to her. I wanted to commit to the relationship and put as much work into it as she was. And it's always been something that stuck in my mind as one of the turning points of the relationship.
So we dated for like 2 years, and actually we broke up one time.
So that was my fault. We were both pretty young. I kind of had it in my mind that I hadn't dated enough girls and that I wanted to go out and see what else is out there. And so we ended up breaking up.
Yeah, he just told me exact thing that he just said to me, like, and if your boyfriend tells you directly, you can't really say anything. Like, it's weird to say no, and I was fine. If you want to see who's out there, go fish. And if he still like me, he'll come back. I was heartbroken, but I was just hoping.
And we stayed broken up for maybe 6 months or something like that.
4 months.
4 months. And for the first month or something like that, I was fine with my decision. But it just slowly started to build and build and build. And I just realized I'd made a huge mistake. So I scooped up a few things that I still had of hers around the house and made an excuse to go see her. And I don't know exactly what my plan was, but we ended up sitting in my car talking for a few hours, and I explained the mistake that I had made and tried to get a feel for how she felt about it. If I remember, you were pretty guarded about it. You were not ready to come back right away.
I was so heartbroken. I was just scared to jump back in.
So I invited her out on a second first date at some point. I think we went to a museum or something. Started trying to rekindle the mess that I had made. Then things switched to a much higher gear because it was around Christmas and I had just gone through this 4-month process of deciding that Yui was definitely the one for me and that I had made a huge mistake, and I kind of went full bore on it. I invited her to come back to my parents' place for Christmas. And this was completely out of the blue for her, but not from her parents, because I had actually been reaching out to them and trying to get guidance from them, and they knew Yui and were completely on board with that, so it was a huge surprise to her. What was that like?
I think I was like confused a little bit. I still wasn't sure like what his plan was. I think I asked like, what are you thinking? Like, where are we going? And I think we are going to get married soon after going to see his parents. And he told me kind of that's where he is headed to. So I was like, okay, if you are that committed, then I'll take you.
I think that ended up being a pretty nice trip.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I love his family. I love Spokane. It's a beautiful place.
Alright, this story is already making me look pretty bad. She has final edit, so everybody remember that. So we were in a rush because Yui's student visa was running out, but we always wanted to get married anyway. It definitely was not a factor in us deciding whether we would get married, but it was a factor in deciding when we would get married. So because of my 4-month mistake, we kind of lost a lot of time.
So yeah, we got married in San Diego courthouse. We just needed to get married on paper at that time, but we wanted to invite all my friends and families and Jackson's friends and family from Washington. And so we planned for a wedding for like more than a year. And we had our wedding in San Diego Beach in 2016 March.
So what was it like after getting married?
We lived in like one of the high-rise building in San Diego. So we had like a nice new apartment. We were in downtown, so we were able to walk to cool restaurants and just two of us hanging out, and it was very fun.
But we never really went on a true honeymoon. Part of that is because we had a very expensive wedding. And we kind of splurged on purpose because there were so many people coming in from so far away, especially Yui's family, that we wanted to make sure that it was truly an event to remember. But on top of that, we also were having kind of like a splurge year.
We moved to a little studio apartment after a year. It was in Little Italy, so the neighborhood was nicer area, but the specific location that our apartment was placed was a little bit sketchy.
It was so weird. Like, Little Italy is like one of the nicest neighborhoods in San Diego.
Yeah.
But we lived maybe 2 blocks from Little Italy, and it got so scary so fast.
There was a lot of homeless people. There was like a shooting in the back of our backyard.
Yeah, I think as far as our actual apartment, I actually loved it.
Yeah, it was tiny, but we loved being in a small place where we can just see each other like everywhere.
I am someone who loves to live as simply as possible, so
minimalist.
Yeah, no extra space and no extra space to put stuff is actually right up my alley.
Yeah, it was nice. While we were living there, I was like kind of start to think that like I've been in the United States for like 6 years at that point, and I just came to the States thinking that I'm going to just go to school for like 2 years and go back, but like I ended up not leaving and I married this guy. So I am probably going to live in the States for the rest of my life, but I was like started to get scared, like how many times am I going to see my parents and my grandparents? just thinking that am I done with my life in Japan? So I started talk about it to Justin, and he was like not at all on board at first, but I kept talking and he finally agreed to move to Japan with me, and that's why we are here in Japan right now. Yeah, we live with my parents, my mom and my brother actually in this apartment, and we've been here 2 years, but we actually leave next summer, going back to United States, probably Arizona. So that's our life together, how we met and how we ended up here. Are you happy that you moved to Japan?
Let's stay here.
I don't want to. Alright, so we're gonna finish our video here. 本日もご視聴ありがとうございました。Thanks for watching. See you in our next video. Bye! Like and subscribe!